Right. Good afternoon, everyone. We will make a start. Thank you for joining the monthly webinar. And today we are going to be talking about two things. One is the release of a great new feature that I think makes a huge difference. Personally, I've already put it into action with one of my clients, and it's working like a bomb. So really good stuff. That's the Navigator and its associated feature, the retake of the X-ray. And then I'm going to share with you some thinking that we've had around what do we do when the SME approaches us directly for an X-ray, because really it needs a coach to debrief it. So we're thinking, well, let's trial something with you guys as the ecosystem of coaches, and maybe what we'll do is work out how that can work. And there are a few things that need to be taken into account there. So we've done a little bit of thinking, and I've got a straw man to share with you too. Okay, so let's jump in then. So the Navigator is really it will turn into your secret sales weapon. Okay, you probably say, well, what the hell is this guy talking about? The bottom line is that Navigator is going to revolutionize engagement with the X-ray. So what it does, all of a sudden, from the X-ray being a one-off encounter where you do it and maybe you circle back and do it, retake it 6 months later or something. Now you've got the ability to update your recommendations, the ability to actually work with the implementation of initiatives to deliver those recommendations. So there's ongoing engagement with the X-ray. And as a result of that, what you as the coach should see is a steady stream of engagement, and that should turn into business for you. So I said, I've already tried this with one of my clients. So I've redone the X-ray. I did an interesting thing. I actually went and actually redid the X-ray with one of my clients, and I actually sat with them and went through it. It's actually the first time I've done that, where I've actually sat with the client and gone through the whole thing. And I use it as an opportunity to educate that particular client on what the different topics meant. So the quality of that interaction was very, very good. It took a bit longer. It took more than 2 hours to do it. It took us almost 3 hours to do it. But there was a lot of coaching that was going on at the time. And this exercise was being done under a coaching brief in any case. But the bottom line is it suddenly dawned on my client that what we were talking about as the scope of the work for her was actually only a piece of the puzzle. It dawned on her that this is an ongoing thing. And we had a discussion about ongoing support for her as she builds the business. So from call it a one-off kind of gig, all of a sudden, here is an opportunity for a series of interactions for me with that particular client. So that's why I call it my sales weapon. And so when you're talking about this X-ray to your clients, introduce the engagement element into those discussions. And what you're going to find then is you'll keep the client for longer. So what we have found is some clients, once they've done the X-ray, they put it on the shelf and they haven't circled back. And by the way, we're in ongoing renewal cycles. Okay. So until now, what we've been doing is when client comes up for renewal, we're saying, okay, it's time for, like, year one is gone. So now you need to go onto the $85 a month cycle. We're finding some of them haven't been engaging with the X-ray. And so what I've been saying to them is, okay, we'll tell you what we do. Engage with the X-ray via the Navigator, and then I'll talk to you again in 3 months' time. So all of a sudden, what was a tool that was being used sporadically is likely to turn into one that gets used all the time. So basically, for them, that means that they're always wrestling about working on the business and working in the business. So all of a sudden now they've got a tool to engage that top team to be in the business, working on the business all the time, because it's basically got a way of allocating all of the recommendations, and as a result of that, the top team then stays engaged. So you basically, the CEO allocates ownership, and what happens then is each of the execs is now engaged in it too, and there's an ongoing discussion about it. And of course, the X-ray updates as they complete the recommendations. The X-ray updates the BMI score and updates the top 10 recommendations. And I'm going to ask Siam in a minute. He's our product manager at Next9. I'm going to ask him to just show you how this thing actually works. He's got a neat way of actually doing that. He's much better at it than me. I can do it, but I would be doing it in an artificial way, and he's got a way of actually working both sides of the equation. So I've asked him to help us with that. And then, as I said, you can track the progress of those initiatives. So you, as the coach, and from your dashboard, you can go into the X-ray and see what's going on. So you can see where they are, and you can also then, with the CEO, track the progress too. So between the two of you, you can work with the top team to actually make sure that those recommendations actually gets done. And something that is going to be coming in the next little while is the ability to look back and track progress over time. To start with, it'll be a series of snapshots, but the intent is there will be a graph that will show progress with time. So you'll be able to see over, say, the last year or so, this is what has happened to our BMI index. Okay, so that is basically a context for this feature, and it's been a while in the building, and the star of the show around actually doing that is Siam and his team. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Siam, I'm going to ask you to take over and just show the guys the ropes quickly, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, Vin. Hello, everyone. I'm just sharing my screen. Please let me know once you have my screen.
And if you've got questions, you can ask as we go along, or you can keep them for after Siam's done the demo, and you can ask him questions as well.
Vin, you have my screen?
Yes, we have your screen.
Okay, awesome. So basically, I'll be toggling between two accounts. One is the CEO account. So I have logged in as a CEO. And then I have one more, a PT account, which is basically a team member account. I'll just show you how exactly this works. So as Wayne explained, that this has now become an ongoing interaction tool, and it updates itself dynamically as and when the team works on it. So let me show you how this entire thing works. So currently this company has done the X-ray. Their BMI is at 52%, and this is where the assignment of the top 10 has happened in the team. So they have assigned quantifying capital needs to a team member over here. So this is the owner. So this is where you can see the ownership, who owns the practice and who is responsible within the team to improve the practice. And if they want to change the ownership, they can just click on it. It will say that, okay, this is the practice, who should be the new owner? And between the team members who are already there, you can assign the team members over here. Yeah. So this is how the assignment of team ownership to the practice happens. Yeah. Now I'll quickly go and show you how it dynamically updates itself. Say, for example, just keep in mind that we are currently at 52%, the BMX, and let me go to the operation discipline, which is currently at 49% for this company. Yeah. What I'll do is I'll just go to all gaps within the operations, and let me take this example, performance measure operations, and let me assign it to the team member. So I am the CEO. I am assigning it to another team member of mine, and I click on submit. So once I've done that, an email gets triggered to the concerned person that the CEO has assigned you this particular discipline. Yeah. And if you can see over here, in all gaps now, performance measure operations is basically owned by Parth Test. Okay. Now let me log in as Parth Test, and I am over here as a team member. When I go to the X-ray section as a team member, what I'll find is uh, it shows me that it will basically give me all the recommendations that are assigned to me. So in the assigned to me tab, I can just go, or a team member can just go and understand which are the practices he or she is responsible to improve within the organization. Yeah? So say the person is working on wants to improve this particular discipline. Here is the recommendation that they need to improve upon or work upon, and how do they improve the practice? They do it by creating initiatives to achieve the recommendation. Say for example, and these are the 4 steps attached to it. You create the initiative, you take it to completion, and then submit it to the CEO for approval. And if the CEO believes that the initiative is complete and the recommendation has achieved, he approves it, and finally that's where the goal is achieved. Let me quickly create one initiative, a dummy initiative, uh, a dummy result attached to it, and a target date which the team member is targeting to complete on. Depending on the target date, a reminder is sent to the team member saying on the date of completion that hope you have completed it. If not, go ahead and complete it. The team member can simply click on create initiative. All whichever actions have been performed over here, there are various trigger points that we have defined, which will notify the CEO and the coach about it. Not everything, so that it doesn't spam you, but all the most important points, trigger points we have captured. So this is how the initiative has been created. Uh, as soon as this is marked, so submit for approval is not enabled till the time it is 100% complete. Once the team member marks it as completed or the progress bar is reached to 100%, they can click on submit for approval. While they are submitting it for approval, the system will guide them through a process. The first step of the process is reminding them that this was the original recommendation and have they accomplished this or not. If not, the team member can just click on no and say create another initiative if they want to, yeah, or edit the existing initiative. Uh, so it will remind you that this is the recommendation that you wanted to accomplish. Did you achieve it or not? Say, for example, I say yes. What will happen is it will then again show me the survey question that was related to that particular practice, and it will show me the higher level. So basically, the team member is now re-answering the question after implementation of that particular recommendation. What's the current state of the business? Say, for example, I say with whatever initiative I have completed, now I'm at the state. I click on next, and it will again remind me that by doing so, you're indicating that you have progressed from level 1 to level 5. And if you're sure about it, then just submit it. So this is how the process works. Now, as soon as this person has clicked on submit for approval, what has happened is on the team members dashboard, this particular uh, practice has now moved from assigned to me, and now it has gone to pending for approval. So there is nothing now that the team member needs to do about it. It is in awaiting approval state, and it is with the CEO. The CEO would have got a mail that someone has submitted a recommendation to be approved. Yeah. If you can still notice, the BMX is at 52% and the operation discipline is at 49%. Yeah. Now let me log in as the CEO. So now I go to the CEO's account. Um, and let's check how the CEO will approve this particular recommendation. So the CEO gets notified about it to an email. CEO logs into the portal, and here it comes for the approval in the pending for approval state. CEO can go here, understand what is it all about, what the team member had worked upon, go to initiate tab and get all the details related to it. What was the recommendation, what's the remark, and all of that. All the details are over here. He or she can click select to reject or approve it. For demo purpose, let me just approve it, and I say well done. Okay. As soon as I'm approving it, so here also it will remind the CEO that by approving, basically this practice will change from level 1 to level 5. And as soon as they click on submit, what happens is in the back end, it is recalculating the entire score, all the BMIX and all of that in the back end, and that process is currently happening in the back end. As soon as the system has calculated or done the recalculation, it will identify what is the current state of this practice and then show a pop-up saying that congratulations, now this particular practice has been completed and it has reached the maximum level. You no longer need to work on that. And once I click on got it, thanks, it will just refresh the page, and the needle on the BMIX ideally should have moved, and it has gone to 53% overall. The operations has gone to 52%. Just in the previous, so if you notice over here, this is the team member. This page has not yet refreshed. So we started with 49. Now, because this practice is completed, this needle has moved from 49 to 52%, and the practice now sits in the completed tab. So here it is. And if you want to view all the details related to it, how was the goal achieved? You can go in the initiative tab and view history to view all the details. So this is how basically this entire functionality works. Vin, anything else that you want me to elaborate on or display or demo?
That is fantastic. You've done a very fine job for us. Won't you please just point out the retake X-ray button and say a little about that?
Sure.
So that's the other part of the feature.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, with retake X-ray, what's happening is what we're doing is if periodically or as a best practice, a company wants to redo the X-ray or reassess the health of their business at a regular interval of time, with retake X-ray now that has become possible. So as a company or as a coach, if you want to suggest your clients that you need to retake it every 6 months of time or every quarterly or every annually, you can do that now. And what it means is the CEO, only within the team, only the CEO has the right to retake the X-ray. If you notice, this is the CEO account. He has the retake X-ray option, but the team member doesn't have the retake option because we did not want to open it to everyone. Just the CEO can take that decision to start the X-ray again. Now, as soon as the retake X-ray is clicked, what it shows is it will show this banner, making sure that the CEO has understood the functionality well and what they are about to sign up for. What exactly is happening is if when they click on retake X-ray, it will show them this prompt with 4 important points. One is the first step would be they have to set up their X-ray again or the survey again. What it means is it might have so happened that some team member would have left the organization or someone would have joined the organization and the CEO now wants them to take part in the X-ray. So that is number 1 point. As soon as they click on start X-ray, they'll have to set up the X-ray, invite new team member, remove the old team members. All of that can be done in point number 1 as they set up the X-ray. Second point is all of them along with their team now complete the X-ray. But here is the interesting thing with complete the X-ray. What happens is previously X-ray was like they had to do the entire X-ray or answering all the 250 odd questions, which used to take a lot of time. What we are doing is because now you're retaking the X-ray, we are pre-populating the X-ray with the latest state of the practices. Say for example, the practice that we just improved, previously it was at level 1. Now the current state of the business, that practice is now at level 5. So it will automatically fetch that thing and it will pre-populate that as per the latest state of the business. This practice is at level 5. If the respondents wants to change the option, they are free to do that. So we are pre-populating almost 80-85% of the X-ray for them. So that's the completion part. So that has become faster now. And then finally, once you have done that, you can view the results. Once it has gone from, it will They have completed the survey. It notifies the coach that you have to review it. Once the coach has reviewed the results and prioritized the recommendation, added the coach notes, it is now available to the company in the dashboard again. And then finally, if they have to compare their previous results, they can do that by the PDF reports. So they will have their latest X-rays results shown on the dashboard. But if they want to see their previous X-ray results, they can have that in the PDF format. Currently, that functionality is not yet live on the platform, but if any SME request will come to request us, we can give it from the backend. So that is how this thing works. And once they click on Start X-ray, there will be a confirmation pop-up, and if they click yes, they can start the X-ray again. So I'm not starting it again because I want to retain this account and the data related to it. But yeah, this is how the retake X-ray works.
Fantastic. Thanks, Siam. There's a question from Ina. She actually has done the retake exercise with one of her clients, and she says there seems to be an error with the download report button. So it might be something you just want to have a beep at.
Sure, I will check that. If you can just in the chat message just drop me the name of the SME, I'll have a look at it.
Okay, so that is the story. So now you with your client, you've got two choices. One is if it's been quite a while since they did the X-ray, it's probably a good idea to retake it, because then they can go through the whole thing. If they've done it fairly recently, get them to engage with the X-ray using the Navigator function and just start implementing the recommendations, and they'll see their BMI score. So in your engagement with your client, you can guide them on what makes most sense for them. But like I said, what I'm doing is, if they took it a while back, I'm saying maybe there's a bunch of stuff that's changed since the last time you did it, just retake it. And particularly if there were changes in the team, and also particularly if the CEO says, hey, Wayne, there were one or two people on that X-ray team who maybe didn't quite get it. But sometimes the CEO says, I got someone to answer it who maybe shouldn't have. So there are a few reasons why you might choose to retake it altogether. Otherwise, engage with it. And it's that engagement that is going to lead you to ongoing interaction with your client around building their business. And that should help you on your business side too. So let me park it there. Enough from me and Siam. Over to you guys for questions.
Veen, there was a question in the chat from Heno regarding can we have unlimited retakes? From the system point of view, yes, unlimited retakes are allowed. You might just want to give a business perspective on that.
Yes. Well, each time you do a retake, okay, as I said at the beginning, and for the benefit of those who joined a little late, it takes 2 hours to do this X-ray, okay? So it is an investment in time for the team. So I think retakes are necessary from time to time. I actually say to my clients, you should retake it once a year. And I suggest they do that just ahead of their strategy planning session in Q4, ahead of their new financial year, because that's when most guys are doing their thinking around what's coming for the new financial year. And so it's a good way then to catch the things that have changed that maybe haven't been on your radar screen. Because if you're acting on the recommendations, you'll only incorporate the changes into your BMI score for the things that you've worked via the recommendations. But quite often, you've worked on a bunch of the other practices too. So when you take the retake, it suddenly dawns on you, oh yes, we've done something about this one. So then you click on the right score. So once a year, they should retake anyway. And during the year, just use the track and update. But you can do it as often as you like. And remember, so your client has basically got access to this thing for the next year when they sign up for the first time. And when they get to the end of the year, they will need to decide, am I going to keep on using it? In which case the monthly subscription then kicks in. Okay. So if you and your client are engaged with this thing, it becomes a no-brainer then that this thing will carry on adding value, in which case it makes sense for the SME to renew their subscription. Does that make sense? So thanks for that question, Heno. Anybody else? If not, I'll make the assumption that Siam is the maximum genius and I'm his great support artist. In which case, I'm going to share screen and I'm going to go on to the next topic. Okay, you can all see my screen, right? Okay, so now I need some feedback from you guys, because we've been doing some thinking, and it's dawned on us that we get a steady stream of SMEs who come to Next9 directly. Okay, they find out either they've been on one of our programs before, or they know one of the coaches, in which case they come via the coach. But some people come to us directly, and what we've been doing until now is we've been allocating one of the 10x entrepreneur coaches to work with that business. Basically, I know a bunch of coaches and I know who sort of does what. So I just use my judgment to say, well, this looks and smells like a Ben client, or maybe an Ina one or something like that. But it occurs to us that as a coach community, there is likely to be an increasing stream of people who come directly. And Next9 is actually the tool. It's not a coaching business. So what we need to do is work out when they come, how are we going to manage that? And put yourself a few months or years down the road. If we're successful, there will be a decent stream of businesses who come and knock on the door. So we need to find an answer for that, because we think doing it on their own isn't really an option, is the bottom line. You could. When I was a CEO of a business, I reckon I could have probably done this on my own. But the point is, I, at that stage, already had a lot of experience under the belt and was familiar with all of the topics and all of that kind of thing. And I don't think all of the CEOs will be at that place. So what we're thinking at the moment is, when a request for an X-ray comes in, there will be a group of you guys who want those leads. So what we do is we say, we will allocate that SME to you. And I'm seeing Lynn on the screen. Yeah. So we say, okay, Lynn, we'll allocate this one to you, because maybe they are in your town or whatever reason we use. And we'll talk about some opt-in criteria in a minute. And then, so you take over from your dashboard, you administer the X-ray, you do the debrief, okay? So what you're doing is you're getting the lead, but your investment is that essentially your time to administrate it and to do the debrief, okay? Your benefit comes with the work that comes after that. That is then for you, okay? For Next9, we will take a small royalty on that. And we're sort of thinking at the moment, something like a 10% royalty. So for a limited period, maybe for 2 years. So your benefit is you get a new client, you get a bunch of business, and it should be, if the X-ray works well for you, you should get ongoing business with that client and you should retain that client. For a limited period, Next9 will get some benefit because we referred that client to you too. Okay. Of course, we've got to manage, there's a brand thing here, okay? So we've got to make sure that the job gets done properly. So when we allocate it, we've been thinking, now, what's the best way to do this? The best, right now, the best person to allocate that SME to is Ben Skuman. Why? Because Ben does so many of these X-rays. The other one, by the way, is me. Okay, but I'm using, because I'm inside Next9, I'm using Ben as the best example, and he is the best example. But it wouldn't be fair to allocate them all to Ben. So what we've got to do is get you guys to a place where you're using the X-ray, so we can help you get some business. But we need to be comfortable that you're going to do a great job with it, and you're not going to go and trash Next9's brand. Now, I know you don't have the intent to do that, but through not having the background, you might not do a good job. And all of a sudden now, we've got some SME on social media slanging off Next9 and blah, blah, and we know where it goes from there. So what we're thinking is we'll slant the allocation of those leads in the direction of the more experienced people, but the others will get as well. So if you have a bunch of your clients and you're actively using the platform and you actively are doing debriefs, and you're using, you will, in order to do the debriefs, we're pretty sure you'll go into the resource center and go and see how a debrief is done and get to grips with it. By the way, there are a few guys who've asked me for some guidance on it, and feel free. I am the person who's there to help you if you're unsure about something. And if there's a video or something to watch, I'll point you in that direction. Otherwise, I'll help you myself. So basically, once you've got a few of those under the belt, and now you can actually execute them well, and you're comfortable with it, you then say, Wayne, count me in, put me in that pool. So then I have a collection of coaches who want to be part of this thing. And as we go along, I just allocate them. Okay. And we haven't thought through exactly, is it going to be 2 for Ben and 1 for Lynn and 1 for Wayne or whatever? We'll work that out in due course. But the point of the matter is, assuming we're successful with this X-ray, and we're confident that we will be, there will be a steady stream of SMEs that come directly. And that can be helpful for particularly the coaches who are building up their business and want to add clients to their portfolio. So for example, if you're a coach that sits in Port Elizabeth, and I see Andrew's on the call here. Andrew sits in the UK. So if there's a guy that's in London and needs some help, well, then logically, Andrew's probably a good guy to do it, just in case, because in some instances, that work is going to involve face-to-face stuff. So we'll think through the modalities, but the idea is we'll just then shift these leads to people who want to be part of it. There might be some of you who say, no, actual fact, I've got enough clients. I don't need any more clients. Please count me out of that. And of course, we'll get some feedback as well. Okay, so we won't just leave it to chance. Best practice for customer management is to get an NPS score back. So we will ask the guys when we allocate them to you, we're going to ask them afterwards, hey, did Ben do a great job, or did he mess up your business and now you're out of business? So we'll ask them some questions on those kinds of things. And obviously, the guys who nail it are the guys who are going to get more referrals from us. And I think that's fair. So I'm sharing this with you because we did a bit of a brainstorm a few weeks back, and we thought this is how it could possibly work. But we wanted to get your thoughts. Does this sound like a great idea, or is it a poor idea? And what could we do that would make it better? Your opportunity to share thoughts with me on behalf of the Next9 team.
Wayne, can I comment first?
Ben,
I just
want
want
the
to,
microphone, so go for it.
yeah, I just want to echo what you said, and just say, at least until we've got great traction and people feel more comfortable, I don't mind if the leads are given to others at first. I just want to say it to everyone. I would also like to support people who want to get to use this more often. So just so that you all know, maybe you get allocated an opportunity, you're a little bit unsure, you can't get hold of Wayne, please contact us. Don't contact me, contact Henu. Henu, just wave at everyone, please. I'm too busy, I'm stuck in most meetings every day. So Henu will be able to get you access to my calendar so that we can help you, okay? So just know that not just Wayne, I'm also there. There's very skilled people that are using this tool all the time. Wayne is also very busy like me, but we are here. Okay, there are more than one that can help. I just want to volunteer and say, if you need help, we are good because we know how to use the tool, and we've been using it for 5 years in the static form before it turned into the digital. We know the ins and outs of it. So we want you to know that that's why we get good scores, and we want you to get as good, because then we create a unique value proposition. So I think that's great, Wayne. I want to endorse this process. I think this is a great criteria. I'm paying 10% royalties on all leads they give me. I don't mind doing that because it takes me 25% of the cost to actually go and find them myself. So if I pay 10%, I save 15%. So it's a no-brainer. I think the 24 months is fair. Wayne, what you could do is just maybe explain additional work, because there are certain things that, so let's say I do a founder's DNA as a product, I use, that's got nothing to do with Next9. Do I pay on that as well? So that's just something I need you to clarify a little bit, because that could be ambiguous and could cause tension.
Yeah, you ask, well, first, Ben, thank you. You are a scholar and a gentleman. I really appreciate you offering to help. And that's a real good example of how this coach ecosystem can work, how we can help each other. The answer to your second question is, I don't know. I hadn't thought of that. I think we're going to put it this way. I think the intent is it's work that comes from the X-ray and improving the business building. So what is inside and what is outside, I don't know the answer. If you'd asked me off a gut feel, I would have said anything that relates to building the business, that relates to improving the X-ray, ought to be inside. That would be my guide. What do others think? What makes sense?
Wayne, can I maybe just step in? So I've got a bit of experience. I've got experiencing with franchising. So you're sort of bringing forth a franchising concept. So generally, the rule of thumb is that whatever work, well, in the franchising environment, they will say it's on total sales. But I would probably agree that if you are referring the client, and then whatever work is entailed from the client that you've given would cover the full 10%. That's how most franchising companies work. Okay. Because you would have actually never received the client if it wasn't for the referral.
Okay. There is a view from a franchising expert. Thank you for that. So Ben, I will take that question back. Let's assume for now it's any business associated with that client for the next 2 years.
Maybe from us, if I can say the 2 years, it would make sense to me to say maybe the first 12 months is obviously upfront for the Next9 solution. So then to make it the time bound, maybe 1 year for the lead, you can maybe play around with the time for that referral fee, royalty fee.
Yeah, and that's a fair suggestion. So let me just share with you some background here. So what we are doing is we're working out now. Jason has to go out and fundraise for Next9. It's a startup just like any other startup. So we're scratching our heads and we're saying, okay, so now how are we going to generate enough income from this thing that everyone involved sees value and it's a good enough prospect for someone to invest in? Okay, so the bottom line is we don't actually know. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of an experiment, and we're going to have to work it out over time. And as you know, you tweak these things, and that's why we actually want feedback from you. So I've heard, like Ben says 24 months is okay. You say, well, how about 12? Of course, in a perfect world for you guys, 1 month would be the best answer. But ultimately, it's more a function of what ends up resulting in Next9 being a successful business, because it's in your interests, mine as a coach and mine as Next9, and of course the whole Next9 team, that this thing actually does work. So Henna, thanks for that. 2 years was Wayne's thumbs up. Okay, that's where that number came from.
Got it.
Wayne.
Oh, Brad.
Just another suggestion is,
okay.
If you are charging the royalty fee, and if it is coming from Next9 referrals, would it not also be advisable to set a standard fee across the coaching network? Because then it just creates a little more cohesion and transparency irrespective of what other fees that the coaches actually do charge themselves, because everyone is going to charge something different. So in order to make it work, if you standardize it across the board, it also just evens out the playing field a little as well.
Standardize the cost of what?
The fees, so the fees that they'll charge per hour, whatever it might be.
Well,
So generally,
we're not going to go there. We're not going to go
Okay.
there. Serious. That would be a nightmare. And me as a coach, well, you could say to me, next night could say to me, Wayne, if you want to use our referrals, well, here's the rules of the game. You must charge this rate and that. But in actual fact, we don't want to do that. But I know where you're coming from, and here's my thought on it. If we're going to use this kind of thing and it's going to work, what we can't do is have distortions. Okay. So if we send a referral your way and you rip off the client by charging too much, and now they're unhappy, well, that's bad for all of us, because that person is going to go and talk. So I guess that's where you're coming from. So without wanting to be draconian about this, our sense is that we won't fix, because I know we've got some coaches who are less experienced than others, and I know the rates vary quite a lot. So and also we operate in different countries. So Andrew operates in the UK. If we say to him, listen, buddy, you can only charge 50 Rand an hour, he's going to say, well, take a hike, man. I charge 25,000 pounds an hour. I'm in the UK. We get rich here quickly. So I don't think we're going to do that. So Brad, you had your hand up first, and then Lynn, I'm going to come to you after that. So Brad?
Yes, thanks. I think you may have answered my question. I was just seeking clarity. So my understanding, based on what you're saying now, is that the client that you bring to us as coaches, they pay Next9 the monthly fee, or for the first time, will they be on a 12-month period where they're not paying anything?
No, let me clarify that for you. So when you do an X-ray with your client, you have a choice. You can say to us, can you please get payment directly from my client? In which case, we will charge them the $85 per month, 12 months up front, $1020, turn into rands if you're in South Africa, or something else if you're somewhere else, okay? And every coach so far has gone this route. No, don't invoice my client. It's my relationship with that client. You invoice me as the coach, and you give me my 15% discount. Okay, don't forget that. So, and then I will invoice my client, because I'm going to take that X-ray, and it's part of a basket. Okay. So that's basically. I will be very surprised if any a coach wants us to invoice directly. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think you. Thanks for that. Thanks for that.
Okay, cool. Lynn?
Yeah, hi. So thanks, Wayne, for this. Again, very informative and interesting. I've got a question. I'm fairly new in the coaching space. I've been going for about a year now in terms of charged coaching. And I'm really enjoying the small business space, and I can see this platform being really useful and really powerful. So I'm really keen to grow and look into it as a resource for my clients to use. However, it's catch-22, because at the moment, the types of clients I have are borderline. I would say they would flinch at the cost. That said, I can see your pricing is right for the right customers. I'm not questioning cost. I'm questioning the kind of clients that I have at the moment. However, over the next 6-12 months, I'm rolling more into this type of client, and this is something I could offer them at a good tool for me to offer. But I'm in a catch-22 situation, because I'd like to be able to put my hand up and say yes. I'd like to be a Ben type person, be a service provider to you, or be on your database for recommendations and referring to you. But how do I start with getting that experience? I can obviously watch the videos and the resource thing. I'm very happy to do that. But it's really, my question is, well, where do I start? How do you start getting those clients? So it's, yeah.
Okay, so a few comments based on what you said. First one, is a value discussion. Okay. So there are times when I have clients too who have no money. They're just about bankrupt. Okay. They can't even pay me. There are times when I actually work pro bono. Okay. So they can't afford an X-ray. Okay. So what I say to them is, listen, I know you're short of bucks, but basically the time you're going to save and the money you're not going to spend in your business because you are delaying the engagement with the real issues in your business. So that value, A, saving the time, and B, the money that goes missing while you're actually doing that, the cost of an X-ray pales into insignificance. And when people understand that, they say, I get it. It's basically a small piece of the money I'm going to save by getting to work on the right things quickly. That said, there are some people, and I've got one or two of them too, who say, yeah, I get that, but I'm a skinflint. I don't want to spend the money on the X-ray. I know the answers. I've got all the answers. I'll tell you what the answers are. Help me with A, B, and C. And it doesn't matter what I do, they don't change their mind. So the bottom line is there will be some clients that this thing doesn't work for. And what we've tried to do is pitch it at a number that is as low as we think will still result in a viable business for Next9. That's the bottom line. Okay. So with and we don't know what that is. And this is around about version 3 of the pricing already. So with time, we'll work together to work out what that works like. Second part of the question. If you go into a resource center, you'll see a video there on how to debrief an X-ray. Okay, so it's basically me saying, well, here's what I do. Okay, and this thing will evolve with time. And if you want some help, I'll help you. Okay, there was one of the coaches in the group actually asked me, would I mind joining his first debrief and just sitting in the background? Now, I'm loath to say I'll do that for everybody, because you can think about the on cost of that. But if you are sitting there saying, listen, I don't know whether to jump into the water or not, and this will make the difference, well then shout and I'll come and help you. Okay.
Okay, so sorry, was there something else?
No, basically I'm saying I'll help in whatever way I can.
Wayne, and then my other question was, I don't know if I've missed something, but I've still got a number of 12,000 Rand sitting in my head. And now when you're saying 89 per month, does that mean that there's not a lump sum up front? It's from the beginning you subscribe, and with that you get your first.
Yeah. Okay. So Lynn, you must have been a pre-1 April client. Okay. On the 1st of April, we changed the pricing. You should have got an email that told you that. Okay. And I'm pretty sure it went to everybody, but it's not inconceivable that you didn't get it. And if you didn't shout. So basically what we did was we said, listen, there are a bunch of coaches who actually aren't in South Africa. So we're pricing in rands, but in actual fact, people are out there. So we decided to shift it to $1. And we basically said, call it $85 a month, because think SaaS model kind of thing. And we thought, well, a lot of value comes up front. Is a big step up, and then there's ongoing value from the engagement. So what we don't want to have happen is the client says, I will pay you $85 a month, and then after a month they say, okay, cheers, bye-bye. So that's why we charge for the first year in one lump sum. So 85 times 12 gives you 1020. So that's where the number comes from.
Thank you, that helps. Thanks.
Okay. Andrew, were you putting your finger up there, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just going back to the referral discussion.
Yeah.
In my view, it needs to, whatever happens, and I'm happy to pay referral fees. Obviously, it needs to be as simple as possible. You know, I've worked in, and the system I use is, every referral, and listen, every coach is different, and every coach works differently. And I pay 100%. I pay 100% of the third month's invoice for any referral. And a lot of people say to me, why the third month? because the first 3 months are, in my experience, the most critical months in terms of value for money. If the client is not seeing value for money, potentially they tell you to do one. You know, and you've invested X amount of time. So that third month's invoice 100% goes to the referrer. Now, obviously, I'm getting paid in pounds. I don't know what anybody else's coaching fees are, etc., etc. But that's just how I work it.
Okay, so I'll take that and stick it into the mill as well. So thank you for that. Does anyone think that's a bad idea? That it's don't do it that way? Len, you're shaking your head.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
Okay,
It's going to be less than 10% of the total value in 2 years. So that might be a great idea, but fine, you'll need to weigh that up internally.
Yeah, okay. Remember, right now, we actually don't know what the right answer is. We're busy exploring this thing. So I'm taking your comments back and we will sit and chew on them and we'll work out what makes good sense. So thank you for that, Andrew. That is a novel way to do it. By the way, what 10x Entrepreneur does is it's an honor system. Okay, so we work with coaches and there's an ethical thing here. We just say, listen, when you use our IP, please just tell us how much we should invoice you for. So technically, you could just be quiet and say nothing. Okay, but the bottom line is that's not a nice thing to do. So the coaches in the 10x Entrepreneur world, when we use 10x's IP, we basically tell their ops team, listen, invoice me for X. I did a strategy workshop. I used your IP. Please invoice me for the number. Okay, and it's very simple. It's basically driven by the coach, and it works fairly easily. And while we're on that topic, by the way, we're busy working at the moment on the payment gateway to make the payment simple. This manual thing of invoices and that stuff's got to go. Siam is busy working on that, but it was more important that he gave you the ability to use the Navigator than to come up with a payment system. Even so for now, there's PT for me and the finance guys behind the scenes, but that will change in due course to make it a little simpler too. Okay, so what I'm hearing is the idea sounds like sorry, go Angus.
I just wanted to ask, the IP you're talking about is obviously the courses on the Next9 platform.
The stuff in the academy. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So there are 3 of us on this call, Ina, Ben, and myself, and there are a bunch of others as well, are actually accredited coaches for 10x Entrepreneur. So we coach on their programs, on the accelerator programs. So we're familiar with their IP, and basically what happens is Jason Goldberg stress tests us when we run a first workshop, and if we do the job properly, well, then we license to actually use it. Okay, so then if I use the material for 10x Entrepreneurs clients, it's very easy for me to use exactly the same stuff for my own client. And when I use it for my own client, I then say to 10x Entrepreneur, please bill me. That's where it comes from. But yes, it's the material that's actually in the academy, basically. Brad, you went first, then Lynn.
Yeah, so I'm obviously new to NX9, but I've been going through the resource material and the let's say the material that you're speaking about. So, for example, you know, the strategy workshop that's in there, that's not unique, you know, per se, because you know I've been doing strategy workshops for several years, and I use Norton and Kaplan's balance scorecard. I'm very familiar with that. The process that you describe, I actually do that myself. You know, so I'm just trying to understand. Yeah, I think it's more the principle of saying, if you're giving me a client and it's a case where actually, in all honesty, whatever work I do, I should be giving you 10% for the referral, whether I use your material or not. This obviously favors you, but I'm just trying to establish that, because otherwise we're going to get into an argument of saying, well, you know, I use the lean business canvas, but you're calling it something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're confusing two things here, and I shouldn't have brought the 10x entrepreneur stuff into it, because that is a bit of a red herring, and it doesn't apply in your case, Brad. And you're dead right. The guys who use 10x entrepreneur IP actually use slide decks and get templates and other things like that too. Okay, so it's different. The intent is not that that stuff is going to be. There's a thought at the back of our minds that maybe at some point they're going to be coaches who need some help with IP and that, but quite honestly, we're a little scared of that at the moment, because we focused on Next 9 and we don't really have the bandwidth to focus on that piece. But at some point, someone's going to come along and say, well, how about it? And then we'll cross that bridge when we do. For now, this is just about we give you a lead, and for a limited period, there's a small piece of that comes back to Next 9. Lynn, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, in the event where you're saying that mostly the scenario is that the coach invoices the client, how does that work as far as contracts goes? How does, in terms of going to the client, because obviously now the risk lies with the coach, in that if the client does fall off, what then? If the client just decides they just stop paying us. Obviously, I mean, even if that happens, I'm just asking curiously what.
Well, okay. So the intent here is that this thing is sort of back to back. Okay. So you have a contractual relationship with your client. Okay. And what you're doing is you're using the Next 9 tool as part of your delivery. Okay. So if you let your client pay in 5 years' time, but Next 9 wants their money now, well, then you're carrying that financial risk. Okay. So in my case, it's back to back. In fact, what I do is I get the money from my client, and then I pay my supplier because it's just it's little old Wayne. Yeah, I'm not Pick and Pay. I can't afford to fund everybody else's working capital. So I suggest you do the same. If you want to talk a little about that, Lynn, I'm happy to have a chat to you about how to manage that. But I would back to back it. I wouldn't get yourself into trouble there. Brad?
So I just want clarity on that. So in your case, when you say back to back, you mean that you get the full payment up front, let's say for a year period or so from the client? Because otherwise, if we go on risk, that means we owe Next 9 the full amount. But if our client fails us for whatever reason, then yes, we have to honor that obligation. But so I'm trying to understand in your experience what worked for you.
Okay, so when I do an engagement with a client, and quite often it works like this. They ask me to help them with something. It usually comes in as a referral, and I say, okay, let's have a discussion. We do the exploratory first meeting, no cost to them. And I say, well, look, I think you're a candidate to use the X-ray, okay? And I explain to them how this thing works. So then when I give them a quote for the work that I'm going to do for them, they've asked me to help them with something, and I'm saying, in addition, I think you should do the X-ray, because I think it'll confirm or deny that we're focusing on the right things. And I think there might be other things that will need attention too. So here's my quote. And I take the 1020 and I just build it just like that into my quote. Okay. So and I say to them, now when I'm doing work with them, I'm doing it like now. Okay. So yes, it's possible that my client doesn't pay me and Next 9 wants their money. Okay, it's never happened to me yet that has failed. Okay, but I guess it's theoretically possible. I have had clients in the past who just never paid, but they just didn't do an X-ray. Okay, so there is a risk there. So my advice would be you can get them to pay for the X-ray up front. What I think you want to do is if you're a small business, you probably want to get the payment from your client for the X-ray up front, and then say, well, and the rest you can pay me on completion. That's what I would do. I've got to tell you, I don't do that though. So I'm probably sooner or later I'll come a cropper in the space, but I haven't yet. So that's what I suggest you do. Yeah. Okay. Guys, it is 3 minutes past 2. I'm breaking my own promises here. We said we would keep this thing to 1 hour. This has been a fascinating discussion. I'm going to share the recording of this session on the WhatsApp group, and I'm going to ask the other guys to share their input with me too. So then what I'll do is I'll collate all of that. We'll have a chat at next 9, and then we'll come back to you with how we think this thing is going to work. But it sounds like the idea is a good idea. There might be a few wrinkles in how we tackle parts of it, but thank you for that input, and we will park it there. Please have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.